There are moments in life when everything you thought you knew gets turned upside down. You think you know your family. You think your home is a safe space until something happens. Something you didn't expect. Something that makes you question everything. This isn't just my story. This is a story about trust, temptation, and the quiet loneliness that grows behind closed doors. And it all started on a quiet Sunday morning. I was married to Mark for 8 years. We had a decent life, comfortable, not extravagant. He had a son from a previous marriage, Tyler. He was 17, almost an adult, and he'd been living with us full-time for the past year. Tyler was quiet, polite, but distant, always with his headphones in, always in his room. We got along, but I wouldn't say we were close. And maybe that's where everything started going sideways. That morning I got up early. Mark was away on business, again. It had become the norm lately. Late-night calls, trips that popped up last minute. I didn't ask too many questions anymore. I walked past Tyler's door and noticed it wasn't fully closed. That was odd. He always shut it tight. And then I heard something. Not loud, not obvious, just enough to catch my attention. A soft sound. A whisper. I knocked gently. Tyler? No answer. I pushed the door open just enough to peek in, and froze. He didn't see me at first. He was sitting on his bed, looking down at his phone, lost in a moment he didn't expect to be witnessed. When he looked up, the color drained from his face. Tyler, panicked. Oh my God, I didn't know. Narrator. I backed out quickly, heart racing. I'm sorry, I said. I didn't mean to walk in on you. I shut the door and stood there in the hallway, stunned, embarrassed. And then, something else. Something I wasn't ready to admit. I felt responsible. Not for what he was doing. No. But for how isolated he must have felt to need that kind of escape. Mark was never around. Tyler had no one to talk to. And me? I'd been so focused on keeping the marriage together, I'd forgotten we were all quietly falling apart. I waited a few hours. Let things cool off. I knocked on Tyler's door again. This time I waited. Tyler, hesitant. Yeah? I opened it gently. Can we talk? He nodded, clearly unsure. I sat down on the chair by his desk. Me, softly. Look, I want you to know I wasn't mad or disgusted. I was just surprised, that's all. He looked down, clearly humiliated. Tyler, I didn't mean for you to see that. I swear, I'm sorry. Me. You don't need to apologize for being human, Tyler. There was a long silence. Tyler. Dad's never home, and when he is, he's always tired. I don't know. It just gets lonely, you know? That hit me harder than I expected. Me. I know exactly how that feels. We sat in silence again, two people under the same roof, feeling the same isolation, but never acknowledging it until now. Narrator. That conversation turned into another one, the next day, and then another, and slowly, we began to open up. But here's where things started to get complicated. One night I was washing dishes when Tyler came in. He grabbed a glass of water, then just stood there. Tyler, you ever feel like this house is just full of ghosts? I looked at him. What do you mean? Tyler, I mean, it's like everyone's here but nobody sees each other. I turned off the water. Me. Yeah, I feel that way every day. He nodded. Then, he reached out and touched my hand. Just for a second. Not inappropriate, not suggestive, just human. Narrator. And for the first time, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Seen. Wanted. But in that same second, I felt guilty. He was a teenager. He was Mark's son. But he wasn't a child anymore. And we were both so desperate to feel something real. Let me be clear. I didn't do anything. Not then. But I thought about it. And that scared me more than anything. It made me realize how vulnerable I'd become, how neglected, how invisible I felt in my own marriage. Eventually, I did something I never thought I'd do. I went to therapy. I needed to understand why I had even entertained those feelings, not just because of Tyler, but because of what it said about me. Turns out, I'd been emotionally abandoned for years. Mark's career had taken over our relationship, and I'd been starving for affection, any kind of connection. That doesn't justify anything, but it explained everything. I sat down with Tyler one last time. Me. Tyler, I care about you, I always will, but we need boundaries, real ones. He nodded. He was older now, more mature. He understood. And then, I talked to Mark. I told him everything, not about that moment in Tyler's room, but about how distant we'd become, about how alone I felt, and how much damage that loneliness had done. Narrator. We went through hell after that conversation. But somehow, it forced us to confront the truth. We'd stopped seeing each other. Stopped listening. And Tyler? He moved out a year later when he started college. We still talk sometimes, but things are different now. Healthier, safer. And as for me, I'm still married. But now, we work on it. We show up. We listen. Because connection doesn't just happen. It has to be built. So if you're feeling invisible, if your home feels like a place full of ghosts, know this. You're not alone. But the only way to change it is to face the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it feels. Because sometimes helping someone starts with helping yourself. Narrator. Soft final. Thanks for watching. If this story moved you, share it. And maybe have that conversation you've been avoiding. It could change everything.